Tick-Borne disease.
Good morning.
Okay, if I sit here.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Maggie Whitaker. I'm a physical therapist. Right now I work at the New York State Veterans Home in Oxford. I've been there about 8 years now. Before that, I worked with early intervention and preschool services through Broome and Shenango County, and also did home care through Gentiva and some private duty. And then before that, I worked at UHS for 10 years. I worked at Wilson, Binghamton General, Ideal, and Shenango Memorial. So I kind of was all over the place. Right now, I am Secretary of Southern Tier Lyme Support. We are a not-for-profit group. We started the group in 2015. We have 10 board members. They're all local individuals that have either had Lyme or tick-borne disease, or they have a family member that's been afflicted with it. So our organization, for a while, we set up an office at the Sarah Jane Johnson Memorial Church in Johnson City, and we were fortunate that our rent was quite low there. We decided, though, that we really wanted to use our money for outreach and to provide medical scholarships to people who were struggling paying to try and get the testing for Lyme and tick-borne disease. So we opted to not have an office. So we have a storage unit that we used to have our supplies in, and we're looking at buying a storage unit and placing it at one of our board members' businesses. Yvonne Benjamin, she owns the Magic Needle in Endwell. She's a seamstress. And so we're looking at doing that just to keep our costs low so that we can provide as much money as we can to people that are suffering. So we are based out of Binghamton, and we serve the greater area of Shenango, Tioga, and Broome counties. We merged with a Hope for Lyme. They actually dissolved their nonprofit in Elmira, so we basically merged, and now we cover that area. Last year was our 10th annual conference that we've offered. We are not doing one this year, but we're going to support one at BU, which is next weekend. It was our 10th year last year, so we had it at Tioga Downs. We were hoping to reach a broader area. So we had about 200 people that attended. I think the most we've had at a conference, and we co-sponsored them with BU, we've had about up to 500 people. So, we try to spread the word. We try to improve the knowledge of people. If you have symptoms or if you've been bitten by a tick, what do you do?
Maggie, may I just note
Sure.
for everybody that our commission called Mission and Ministry
Yes.
they did a memorial to Virginia Chatterton.
Yes.
And her daughter is very active.
Yes.
And so just to let you know that we gave $1,000 to them for scholarships.
We are really appreciative, and just so you know, we just gave out that scholarship. Yes, so there's an individual who is in her mid-50s, still working as a teacher, and was really struggling, has been diagnosed with early Parkinson's disease. So has gone through all of the testing and had been bit by a tick a year prior. So she is just starting the testing now, and we were able to help. It's very expensive. That initial visit to a physician is about $5,000. And the blood work is about $2,000. And it's out of pocket.
You're talking about to confirm Lyme or for Parkinson's?
To confirm Lyme.
$7,000.
It's about $5,000 for an initial visit if you don't pull a positive test with the standard testing.
Oh, if you don't get a blood titration that's positive.
Correct. And you have to go for the further testing, the more specialized testing. I mean, there's about 40 strains of Lyme in our country, and our tests only test for about 2. So it gets to be challenging, and it's not the medical. The medical field is working hard to try and improve the testing. Unfortunately, it takes about 6 weeks for antibodies to build up in your blood, which is what the current tests use. And by then, the Lyme just multiplies every single day. So the bacteria does in your system.
You mentioned you're doing a conference next week.
So next Saturday, Binghamton University is having a conference.
Where?
It is at the Pharmaceutical.
Oh, Pharmacy School.
Right over here in JC on Corliss Ave.
Yeah, which room?
I brought a flyer, so if you want to take a look, I'll leave it after, and you can take a look at it. And you can go online, and they have their agenda.
Right.
So I've been to a conference many times at BU, and um, it's a little technical at times. But Holly Ahern is speaking, and she's a professor from Adirondack College, and I know Holly very well. She is coming out, or is studying right now, testing an acute test. So she has developed a test, and it's supposed to be more accurate. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say. But she's a professor of microbiology at the SUNY Adirondack.
What time is it gonna be, just next Saturday?
Yes, it's just a 1-day conference. But some of their talks are very technical, like what was in the ovary of the tick. And I sit and, like, I'm interested in it. I'm very interested in, but from the clinical side, it's
Very highly technical.
it's very technical. I don't understand some of it. It's like way above me.
Of those 40 different types of, they're all called Lyme disease? Or-
So as I talk about the lecture, I've included the names in here, so hopefully that will make it a little more clear. But the bacteria for Lyme is Borrelia, and there's there's many different strains in the world, but we test for a couple of them. So
And those of the people who have Lyme, let's just say in the U.S.,
yes,
most of them have a certain type.
it's hard to say. Most of them pull a test for the Borrelia, and it depends if the microti was tested or not.
I'm just wondering, of the two, you said that there's the cheap test for Lyme, which covers 2,
Right.
and there's more comprehensive, which
Yeah, the more comprehensive includes a couple more of the strains that are more common, like the microti. So
so you really need the comprehensive
you do.
test. And
Yes.
that's one that's $5,000 out of pocket.
It's about $2,000. Medicare covers it. There is a copay, usually with Medicare up to $200.
Okay.
And there are some different ones out there. You can order the kit through the mail. It's through iGenex out of California. You can order, and it is an approved test in New York State. You have to have a doctor's signature.
Mhm.
It's important. And before I get started, I should say that our group, we are not physicians, and we try not to give medical advice. That's not our mission, but we want to spread awareness and let people know. So everything that we talk about is for educational purposes,
And stats.
just so you know.
Statistics.
And statistics,
Oh,
yes.
that's-
There's a lot of statistics I'm going to talk about today, and hopefully it's not too boring, but we'll go through that really quick, because I think the most important part is, what are the symptoms? What do you do to protect yourself? And the only way not to get Lyme or a tick-borne disease is don't get bit,
Yeah.
because the statistics are just so high, and they're underreported. So, do you have any questions about our organization? I'm the last original board member. So there's 10 of us now, and we're made up of social workers, chiropractors. We have some there's an historian. One of the local historians is on there. We have someone that is active in the community with archery. So we're a small group, but we work really hard to try and spread awareness.
Are you a victim?
Yes. And 4 out of 5 of my family.
Wow.
And my oldest daughter, she's 29 now, but she missed 3 years of high school. She was infected twice. And my son has been infected 3 times. He had Lyme, and then he had Bartonella. Then he had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and he's been in treatment now for the last 14 months. He has Babesia, anaplasmosis, and Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Just cascades.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's
So-
the treatment they're giving him right now?
Well, right now he's all on homeopathy because he's doing better. He ran the bridge run. He ran the half marathon, which I was very excited about because he's good now, but it's taken him well over 16 months. And he has a job. He's working, so he pays for his own medical costs, and it's been very expensive for him. But we help him. We have to. He wouldn't be able to survive if we didn't. He's paying rent and he's trying to work, and He's been out of college a couple of years. So, yeah,
Paying all student debt.
you're right. He's paying student debt, he's working, and he's trying to cover his medical care. So I submit as much as I can, but the reimbursement isn't so great. And when you have to reach out to functional medicine because you want as many treatments available to them, that's to get him better. He's young. You want him to not have lingering 10 to 20% of the people have what we call post-treatment Lyme syndrome.
Long-term Lyme.
Long-term. Some people call it chronic. It has not been deemed chronic, but the way that it's looked at by the CDC, the NIH, is post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome. So is it really the Lyme, or is it an inflammatory condition that's responded because of the bacteria disrupting the immune system? There's still questions about that. Okay, let me get started so I don't hold you here too long, but we talked about some of this already. It's a bacterial infection caused by Borrelia burgdorferi. Oh gosh. Well, anyways, we'll call it Borrelia. Okay. It's the most common tick-borne disease, infectious disease in the U.S. This is Polly Murray and her son. They were in Lyme, Connecticut. Polly started noticing that her and her family had a cluster of symptoms, and several of the people that she was friends with, this goes back to the mid-70s. So she was starting to actually categorize the symptoms, and she reached out to Yale, to Dr. Alan Steer, and he's a rheumatologist who identified that there was an illness in 1975. So it's been around a long time. And Alan Steer is still very active in researching Lyme and tick-borne disease. And then Willie Bergdorfer in 1981 actually identified the bacterial pathogen. So it hasn't been known for too long, but it's been around long enough, right? It's wreaked a lot of havoc on people. Lyme is caused by a spiral-shaped bacteria, and it is a spirochete. It's a cousin to syphilis. It's a smart one. So when you have the bacteria enter the body, it creates a biofilm, which bacteria does, to protect itself against the immune system. The Borrelia has a biofilm that's 1,000 times stronger. And BU studies this biofilm. It's pretty interesting to see. We're so lucky to have them here doing the research that they're doing. So when you have such a strong biofilm, it's really hard to get antibiotics into the biofilm to kill the bacteria. And so what it'll do is it'll cloak itself. So if it goes into your liver, it'll cloak itself like a liver cell. So it evades the immune system, basically. It can go into any organ in the body, including the brain. It can cross the blood-brain barrier, and it's really hard to get those antibiotics across the blood-brain barrier. And that's why it's so difficult to treat.
Maggie, what's the biofilm? I've never heard that.
So bacteria has a biofilm around it that protects it, and all bacteria has a biofilm. It's just with the Borrelia, researchers are saying it's 1,000 times stronger.
It's like the paint on your car to keep your car from rusting.
Wow.
Do you have anything to add on biofilms?
No.
Okay.
It's a way that the bacteria have developed to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Some people call it slime.
So unfortunately, it can replicate itself inside the biofilm. So it can keep reproducing itself. And then if your immune system is down low, it can detect that. It can release some of the bacteria. It can go to another place. It has a biofilm. And so it can hold itself in that place and keep replicating throughout the body. So there's a federal task force, which is amazing. One of the doctors that we're very familiar with sat on the working group. He spoke at several of our conferences and devoted his life to Lyme and tick-borne disease. He just closed his practice this year, and now he is trying to train other physicians in how he treats Lyme. One of the things that I find interesting is everyone approaches it a little differently on the medical side. And when my daughter was infected, she was 12. She missed 3 years of school. She was extremely sick, and I had to leave the area. She was showing some symptoms, severe insomnia. She had stomach pain that doubled her over, and I took her to the pediatrician 14 times in 30 days. And in the meantime, I had her seen by one of the best child psychologists in the area, because when your child doesn't go to school, you immediately panic that they're bullied or something like that. She looked terrible. So my last visit with the pediatrician, he wrote at the top of the paper in capital letters, anxiety disorder. And I said, are we sure we're not missing something medical? And he said no. So I thought maybe it was an allergy, because she had a history of environmental and food allergies. And so I called the allergist, made an appointment. And then I also made an appointment with a functional medicine doctor who specializes in childhood allergies. And when we went to that visit, it was like a 4-hour visit. It was pretty costly, but he said, I'm pretty sure I know what's wrong, but I have to do the testing. And so he did the testing. He did full food testing. He did full environmental testing for allergies, and he did the whole tick-borne panel. She came up with Lyme and Ehrlichia. So Ehrlichia is a different bacteria, and that's carried by a lone star tick. It's different than the deer tick. So we treated her, and we got her all better with doxycycline, and there was one other antibiotic, which I can't remember. And we made all of the environmental changes, all the food changes. We tried to put her back into school. She lasted 3 days. I knew the school was under construction, but I didn't realize how much. So you could spell your name in the dust on the desk. You could kneel at your locker, and your pant legs would be white from the construction dust. So the doctor ordered the air quality testing, and her first class of the day had high carbon dioxide levels. So they had to do an immediate modification of the environment, but it was the entire school. So the doctor said, you have to pull her. So I ended up homeschooling her for a semester, and then when she went back in the fall, there was testing that had to be done, and they put her into a room that had just been remodeled, and within 2 days it was like we never treated her. So it was just the construction was too much for her immune system, along with the Lyme and the Ehrlichia and the allergies. She was like the perfect storm. So we pulled her out for the year, had her home tutored. Then she went back to school for a year, and then she was in field hockey and got a tick bite. She came home with a tick attached to her chest. So we had to go back through all the testing. I ended up having to pull her out, and that was her junior year, which is like crucial, right? So I pulled her out. We got school tutors. We got private tutors, got her through the year. She went back for her senior year, and she was able to graduate on time. And then in the meantime, my son I did not see a tick on my son at all. He came home from school one day. The teacher had reprimanded him because he completed an assignment all at one time, and he was supposed to complete it in the class. And she, for whatever reason, was very upset with him. He was in 5th grade. And when I picked him up, he said it was the worst day of my life. So then he came home and he throws up. I'm like, oh my gosh, is it because of the trauma, right? So then the next day, he starts rocking. So I don't know if you've ever seen someone with like psychological issues, but he was rocking and doing this. And I'm like, what's going on? And he said, I just can't go to school. So when I saw the rocking, I was like, oh boy, this is probably like an underlying tick-borne disease along with whatever. I called the school. I said, is there anything like anybody throwing up? They said, no. So I got him into the doctor in like a week, and he tested positive for Lyme. So it was like he was okay until there was that stress of school, and then it like set it off. So he went on the doxy. He was fine in 6 weeks. I was a little concerned because he was going for the MMR shot, and I didn't want his immune system to be really affected. And the doctor said it should be fine. He's never had a problem. So he went for the MMR shot right before 6th grade. Within 2 days, he was rocking again, talking in a different voice. And he was doubled over in pain and said, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. So I got him to the doctor, and he had a rash on his back, and it was the Bartonella rash. So I think he probably had Bartonella the whole time, maybe. I don't know, but he went on 2 drugs for the Bartonella. You would think I was crazy, right?
No, we would
I
think
felt
we're
like
bothered
I
with
was
you.
crazy. I felt like I was crazy.
Which part
Seriously.
now?
It's and I'll talk about this, but it was cat scratch fever. So it's a form, it's a bacteria which they're not definitely classifying it as tick-borne because it's carried by mosquitoes, sandflies, and also fleas. So it's not just tick-borne. But anyway, so he was better. We treated him. He was better. And then he was playing soccer at Broome. He was playing every single game, and he came home with chest pain one day. Took him to his doctor. The doctor said, oh my gosh, I need you to go right now for a heart monitor. We put a heart monitor on him. She was really scared that maybe he got Lyme carditis from his EKG. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So then he tested positive for Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And so we treated him, and then he had chest pain about 16 months ago, and he got tested, and it was Babesia, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and Bartonella. So, yes.
You mentioned Lone Star.
Yes, the Lone Star tick tends to
That's
care.
Texas. You just mentioned Rocky Mountain, which is, I know we're not in the Rocky Mountains. This happened here, right?
It happened here. It's here, and I'll show you the slide. You can see on the Lone Star tick, you used to see more Ehrlichia in Florida. It's on the East Coast. It's here, and so is Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
So they're moving. Or
They're moving.
They've always been around.
I'm going to show you the pictures because it's pretty incredible. But I just wanted to let you know about the working group. The working group, their focus is on trying to get better research, better treatments for people, trying to understand the disease more, better testing. They're working on it. And there's a lot of subcommittees, and I know some of the people that have been on the subcommittees. So the federal government is trying to work on it. The medical field's trying to work on it. It's complicated. It's expensive. And as you know, we are not black and white. Everyone's different. Everyone's DNA is different. Everyone's condition is different. Everyone responds differently. But there are clusters of symptoms that are similar. This is from 2019. So this was reported by the working group that these are confirmed cases of Lyme disease, 34,945. I have a couple, let me just look at this. They felt that it was underreported, and it was more like 350,000 people. The testing is poor. It's at best 60% accurate, more like 30, I've heard, 30 to 60. And that's the 2-tiered test they do. So if you have symptoms, they're going to send you for a 2-tier test, and I'll talk a little more about that. And then this one is reported cases of the most common tick-borne diseases in the U.S. So if you look, Lyme disease is the top one. And these are from the years 2001 to 2019. Now, after this, when COVID hit, the reporting went way down because everyone was focused so much on COVID. So you'll see some of the next slides. But you can see Lyme disease has just increased significantly in reported cases. And then you can also see the babesiosis, the ehrlichiosis, the anaplasmosis, and the rickettsia. And the babesia is a malarial-like protozoan, so you have to treat it with anti-malarials. And one of the classic symptoms of the babesia is air hunger. So I've seen the air hunger. At first I had only read about the air hunger, and you will get fevers with babesia. And I know several people that have been treated for babesia, including my son. But my nephew was playing basketball at Broome, and he was in top physical shape. He got a tick bite. They sent it for testing, and he got tested. He was not feeling well. And so they were waiting for the testing to come back. But you know, any kid who signs up for the Gus Macker, it's that huge basketball tournament, is going to want to play. So they're pretty intense games. And it's like 3-on-3, I think, or something like that.
One up in Norwich?
The one in Norwich. So I was watching him play, and I said to his mom, I said, "Wow, that's air hunger." I said, "I've only read about it. I've never seen it." I said, "He should not be having difficulty with how well he's playing." And she said all his tests came back negative. Well, she didn't realize that it took a few weeks for the Babesia to come back. And they called her on the Monday after the tournament and said he tested positive for Babesia.
What do you mean by air hunger?
Yeah, what is that?
You just can't catch your breath. Like you're like you just need more air in. Like you just can't get it.
Like a real bad cold or a flu?
Similar.
Where you're no
Similar
matter how
to
much
that.
you breathe in, you're short.
Yeah, and nothing was resolving it. And sure enough, it was Babesia. I wasn't surprised after seeing him play. I was like, wow, that's just... And then the Ehrlichia is another bacteria, which used to be more common in like Florida, and that's carried by the Lone Star tick. And that's what my daughter had. And we didn't travel. She was infected. I've seen Lone Star ticks here. They have a white dot on the back. And they'll travel you for several feet. They can sense your carbon dioxide. And so that's how they pick up that there's a host. Oh, I should tell you, the anaplasmosis, that one is very rampant right now. It's on the rise. The public health has sent notices to all the medical groups saying that you have to be on the watch for this. That affects your red blood cells. My husband was just treated for that. And then the rickettsia, there's several things you can get under the rickettsia, but that's like the Rocky Mountain spotted fever falls into that. So these are the U.S. tick-borne disease surveillance from 2017 to 2021. And if you look at Lyme disease, these are reported actual diagnosed cases. And it's like 150,000. Right now, the CDC is saying it's about 475,000 a year are actually infected with it. It's just underreported, and it's difficult to get a positive test. And then also on this, they talk about the alpha-gal syndrome. That's the second one in. So ticks in their saliva can carry alpha-gal. And so when they bite you, if they pass the alpha-gal to you, you will respond to it. And the alpha-gal is in mammalians, so it affects you when you get bit. They don't really know how, but you can develop an allergy to mammalian products. Dairy, meat, eggs, and so it's delayed response. So I think it was like 2017, there was a couple hundred people in Connecticut. They ate meat and then they went into anaphylactic shock. So they started realizing and testing. There is a test for it. It's an IgE test, which is the immunoglobulin, and it's like an allergy test. So people can test to see if that's going to be a problem. But there was somebody recently, I'm not sure where they were, but it was a young man, and he passed away after eating steak, after having a tick bite.
Well, you said it was in Connecticut. How far from Lyme, Connecticut, in that area?
I don't know how far from Lyme actually, but I just, when it first came and we saw it happening, there was about 200 cases. I don't even know how they were able to associate it. But they figured it out. They figured it out, and it's one that's a concern right now. The other one that's in here is, I'm not going to talk too much about tularemia. It's extremely rare. It's carried by the dog tick. That's the seventh one in. There was 1,000 cases, a little over 1,000 cases in the United States. It's pretty rare. It's carried by a dog tick. It's another bacteria that can affect you.
That also comes from rabbits too, doesn't it, or something?
It is.
Or it infects the rabbit.
It infects the rabbits.
And then the rabbit
with a tick gets you.
Yeah.
You're going to talk about the symptoms, aren't you?
Yes, and the prevention.
As I'm
The
sitting here
prevention is
itching.
I know. This is the only thing about these lectures is I still hike, I bike, I do everything. We just protect ourselves as best as we can. Yes.
So going back to my earlier question.
Yes.
There's only one Lyme disease per se. Or are there strains of...
There's strains. There's up to 40 strains in our country. But we only
In addition
test.
to these other tick-borne diseases, there are 40 types of Lyme
Mm-hmm.
disease.
And then these other 10 or so, in addition,
So-
that may look alike.
So
Simple.
one of the concerns about the CDC says that you should be treated if you're in an endemic area, regardless of what your testing shows. They should treat you.
If you have,
If you show symptoms,
If you show symptoms.
do the test and start
The
immediately.
CDC is okay treating because it's such a rampant problem and the tests are not as accurate if you look at that. It's just difficult for physicians because not everything is Lyme and not everything is tick-borne disease. So the doctors have to be able to go through their process to diagnose. It's very important because it might not be. It could be something else and you don't want to miss the something else. But statistically speaking, if you're showing a cluster of symptoms that match Lyme, it's rampant. It's rampant. I mean, it's...
What are they?
Oh, we're going to get there. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're getting there. The last thing I want to... Oh, yes.
If you start treatment for Lyme and it's not Lyme, are there any significant adverse effects, or you don't need to worry about the fact you took some doxycycline for a couple of weeks before you got a positive?
Well, doxycycline has side effects, so you do have to be careful, and you want to be tested regularly. I was tested every 3 weeks
But the thing is, the side
because I was on some heavy doses of antibiotics I had Lyme, and I was on heavy, and it was delayed treatment. So I was on some heavy doses for a long period of time. They really watched my kidneys, my liver. They watched every 3 weeks I was getting blood work. Doxycycline so far has not shown that it's resistant, which is a good thing because that's one of the concerns. Doctors don't want to give you antibiotics because of resistance, and that's a big problem. People are not responding to antibiotics for certain things, but doxycycline so far has not shown resistance.
with this specific disease.
Right. And it's it treats a lot of them. Doesn't treat all of the tick-borne diseases, but it covers a lot of them.
But if you're symptomatic, you get tested, and they start doxycycline, and the test comes back negative,
Then you should,
you still got 38 others to test for.
right. That's where it gets difficult. I feel bad for these physicians. I really do because it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. And
But starting somebody on a couple 100 milligrams of doxycycline for a couple weeks until you get other results.
I did something. Sorry. I'm just making your job hard. Sorry about that.
So while he's figuring that out, is
Yeah.
an immunologist or a rheumatologist better to go to? Or do they both deal with Lyme disease?
I think you need to start with your primary care.
But after the primary
And
care,
after
I'm
the
already
primary
past that.
care,
I'm past that. I'm past several of them. Do both immunologists and rheumatologists?
they can treat it and they can diagnose it.
Okay,
It's
that's what I
just
wanna know.
No.
sometimes people, it might not be a area of special interest for them. You have to find someone that's got an area of special interest for it. Infectious disease, they do test for it.
Okay, but both
Doctors would at least make the beginning
Yes.
process.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to know what I've
But,
been dealing with.
you know, some people
here.
go through, there's cases where people have seen 30 and 40 doctors. I know a young man who was 26. He was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. And he had been bitten by a tick. And my niece reached out to me and said, oh my goodness, he is not doing well at all. And I said, well, it's probably not a bad idea to find a physician who specializes in tick-borne diseases and see what happens. And so he did go, and he had one of the strains of Lyme that you wouldn't typically have. And so he was treated. He spent I think it was around 13 months in bed because he was so sick. But he is completely recovered, and he got married. He has 2 children. So, and that was
And no Lou Gehrig's.
no Lou Gehrig's. It reversed. All the symptoms reversed once he got the antibiotics and the correct treatment. He had to do a lot of homeopathy because it's hard to get across the blood-brain barrier. It's hard, and there's things that they do to try and open it up, or at least get the Lyme out into the bloodstream so they can treat it. It's difficult.
You know, she's never going to get done.
That's
get
what I was
to the
saying.
thing.
Can we?
Why don't we save the questions?
Okay.
Again, is that
Can we
okay?
just-
Sure. So the only other one that I want to talk about is the Powassan virus. That one is a virus. There's no treatment and no testing for it. They're testing the ticks in New York State, and there are some ticks with the Powassan virus. It's all, and there's no real antivirals that help it, but you just have to seek medical care. I'm going to skip some of these. We've talked a little bit about all of these. Okay, so that top one is, I'm looking for the green. Okay, so that second one in, it's hard to see on this. This green line right here is New York. So you can see around 2021, it was down, but this was COVID, so everyone was down. Everyone's focus was on COVID at the time. And Massachusetts is so low on this because they changed their surveillance and it dropped their numbers significantly. So it probably wasn't accurate for Massachusetts. But the whole East Coast, New York, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, all of the states, and I'm going to show you some pictures. This is by age, 5 to 9, higher rates, and 50 to 70 higher rates. They think the children are because of their activity levels. They're close to the ground. They're outside more. They think that higher level in the middle group is because of the baby boomers. There's more people. That's what they're relating it to. And then this is time of year. You can see they call May Lyme Disease Awareness Month because that was when it was really more diagnosed cases. But now you can see across the summer months, you're more apt to get bit by an adult tick with Lyme in the Finger Lakes. And this is what they're finding. And then you're more common to get bit by a nymph in Dutchess County and get a transmission. Dutchess County is the highest county in the United States for tick-borne disease.
Really?
This was back in 2001. You can see these are all of the blue dots are cases of Lyme, reported Lyme. This was 2009. This is 2012. This is 2017. This was 2019. You can see it's just spreading. And then this is all the tick-borne diseases, or most of them. And they're in every state. So in Broome County, these are 2017. You can see there was 400 confirmed cases. In 2025, there was 771. They think that it's more like 8,000. And this is from the New York State Public Health Department. And then in Susquehanna County, they think 2025 is more like 7,000 people. So you can see the rates are just increasing. These are some numbers from 2001 to 2016 of the number of cases of the different tick-borne diseases. They're all increased now. And like I said, in the United States, they think there's about 450,000 cases of Lyme diagnosed every year now. It can 450,000. So Lyme can be difficult to diagnose. Many symptoms of Lyme mimic other illnesses. It's referred to as the great imitator. The blood tests are not very accurate, especially in early detection. The test relies on antibodies. It takes 6 weeks after a tick bite for the antibodies to really fully develop. So if you get tested before the 6 weeks, you can easily have a negative test. And that makes it difficult. And if you have a negative, we're 2-tier testing. So if you have a negative first test, you don't do the second test. There's a whole log that says you don't do the second test, and that's based on the CDC. So if you do have the second test, which is the Western blot is 30 to 60% accurate. So you could still have a negative test. So if you get bit by a tick, some people say either take 21 to 28 days of doxy or wait 6 weeks and get the test, unless you develop symptoms. It's really tough. It's tough. But you can send your tick for testing. The tick testing is about 97% accurate. So you can send it. The health departments used to test. They don't test anymore. So you can send it to Cornell. You can send it to Upstate. You can send it to, you can go online. If you send it to technology.org, and we don't endorse anyone, but from personal experience, if you send it to technology.org, the last test I did, it was 5 days. I got the results back, and it was positive for anaplasmosis, and it was $60. So you go online, you fill out a form, you send the tick, and the only reason I do it is if symptoms start, then at least I know what they're dealing with. You know, at least you know what the potential could be. So if you get bit by a tick, you have a 50% chance of contracting something.
How many people have the tick, can find the tick or have it?
It's hard to know, especially the nymph. I was working with a child, and fortunately he was blonde and very fair. And I saw a tiny little tick in the crook of his earlobe. And I looked, and I didn't say anything. And I was like, what is that? And then I said to the grandmother, because the parents were not home, I said to her, I said, can you look at that? And she looked at it, and she said, oh, I think it's a piece of black pepper. Mm-hmm. So she kind of wiped it. And I looked at it again, and it was still there. And I said, that's a tick. And at the time, they were still testing at the health department. So I didn't take it off. She took it off, and she took it to the health department, and it tested negative. So, but they're so small, you can hardly see them at times. You might never see them. So the Lyme can go to your joints, your heart, your nervous system. It can be very debilitating. The rash can, if you have a rash, only 40 to 60% of people get the rash. If you have the rash, it shows up in 3 to 30 days. It may look like a bullseye, or it might not. And it's not, it doesn't have to be where the tick bite was. It can be anywhere on the body. There's, I've seen kids where they've woken up and it's been around their whole half of their face. My mom had some elbow pain one day. She's 87. I stopped to see her and I said, lift your shirt up. She lifted her shirt and she had 5 bullseyes. And I was like, oh my gosh. So she went right to the doctor and they treat. If you have the rash, doctors will treat you, because if you have a bullseye rash, you have Lyme. These are some of the other, what the rashes can look like for specifically Lyme, for the Borrelia. And it can be anywhere, like I said, on the body. It doesn't itch. It doesn't hurt. It spreads. And then it just goes away. This is the rash my son had on his back with Bartonella. That's exactly what it looked like. And Bartonella is the cat scratch fever. It looks more like stretch marks. But it's a very distinctive rash. So these are the symptoms. Everything and anything. So unexplained fevers. You can have weight change, loss or gain, fatigue, tiredness, unexplained hair loss, swollen glands, sore throat, testicular or pelvic pain, unexplained menstrual cycles, unexplained breast milk production, irritable bladder, You can have loss of libido, upset stomach, change in bowel functions, change in pain or rib soreness, shortness of breath or cough, heart palpitations, joint pain, stiffness of the neck or back, muscle pain or cramps, twitching of the face, headaches, neck cracks or stiffness. Your eyes can run. My eyes ran uncontrollably. I couldn't stop it. Tingling, numbness, increased motion sickness, lightheadedness, tremors, confusion. I started driving the wrong way. I was going to work and I went the same way every day. I started going the wrong way. It was a strange thing. Difficulty with concentration, forgetfulness, exaggerated symptoms or like from alcohol, disturbed sleep. My daughter had terrible insomnia. She always slept, no issues, and then she started waking up every single night. Mood swings, difficulty with speech or writing, fatigue, forgetfulness, joint pain. Those are the most common. Tingling, numbness, stabbing sensations, disturbed sleep. So as you can see, it's almost impossible for people, right? These physicians that have to diagnose this is very difficult. These are the different tests that they do. The ELISA and the Western blot is part of that 2-tier testing. And if you look, it's like 49 to 50%, 57% accurate. So some people have said it's as low as 30% accurate. And then the disease stages, you can see people with arthritis, then the tests tend to be a little more accurate. The good news is if you catch it early, you can reverse the symptoms. It's usually, you can resolve it. And the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, they say about 10 to 20% have post-Lyme treatment syndrome. And they're trying to figure out what that is. Is the Borrelia still there in the body in a biofilm wreaking havoc, or is it from the treatment that you've had, or is it from the actual just immune system becoming activated? And we talked about the local numbers. You can see in 2016 there was 294, 2017 was 400. Now there's like over 700 cases, and those are reported and tested positive. So there's been a huge increase for several years now. These are the different ticks. So the adult female is very easily, you can easily identify it. It's large and it's got that color at the bottom. The male is harder. It's hard sometimes to tell with the male if it's a smaller male or an adult male. And then the nymph and then the larva. The larva, the nymph it transmits quickly. So I know some people say the tick has to be on 24 hours. Whether it's on 2 hours or 24 hours, if the tick regurgitates whatever's in its stomach, then it can transmit. The Lone Star tick is the second picture, and then the dog tick, which carries the tularemia. They're very small. The nymph is about the size of a pencil, the tip of a pencil, very small. There's 30 species in New York of ticks. 10 species commonly bite us. 4 potentially transmit disease. And then this is the different stages of them. And this is the cycle. So they lay their eggs in spring, and they lay about 1,500 eggs at a time. Now there's an Asian longhorn tick. That's asexual. So it can reproduce on its own, and that lays about 2,000 ticks. Those showed up in Connecticut, and now it's spreading across the country. But they lay eggs in the spring. By summer, they're larvae. In the fall, they keep moving into the nymph stage. The deer tick feeds once a stage, so it needs a blood meal once a stage. So what happens is it's going to find a vector. So it's going to find, like the white-footed mouse is a big problem because it can feed on the mouse, and then the mouse gets infected. And if you have mice, you have ticks. And mice really like bird feeders. And this is what BU has found in their community surveillance and testing, is that bird feeders increase your risk of ticks and Lyme. So they say if you have bird feeders to move them away from your house, like move them into the woods or something like that, because the white-footed mouse will want the seed, and then they have been infected by ticks, so they'll drop ticks. Yeah, it's a...
White-footed mouse, but not the house mouse.
Well, they're calling it the white-footed mouse at BU, so I go with what they say.
Okay,
So it's hard, I don't know. Maybe.
it's a different mouse.
It's still a vector, maybe. Deer can carry 150,000 ticks on them, and they walk through our yards all the time. So deer do not get Lyme disease. They do not get it. They're studying the protein in deer to see what the difference is, but they carry them. Birds carry ticks, so they can drop them. So they don't. They wait on grass. The grass between a driveway and a lawn is a very common place. BU did a lot of tick drags. They went to people's homes and they dragged and they looked at where, and so it's very common between a driveway and the lawn. It's very common in yards, even in the city. It's common in leaf litter, but they go to the end of the blade of grass, and then when you walk by, they hook to you. They don't climb. They climb, but they don't fly. They just latch on. Are deer a problem? They are, because they carry so many of them. This is a moose. The moose population, they're dying from anemia because there's so many ticks on them that they're losing their blood, especially the young. So it's really affected Vermont's tourism, because people go to see the moose, and they relate a lot of it to there's a book, Michelle Pfeiffer. She has done research, but she's like a writer. She wrote a book about climate change and how it's impacted, and she lives in Dutchess County, and how much it's affected Lyme and ticks and the ecology of it. And then how do you avoid it? This came out of Central New York, so there's a group in Syracuse that's pretty strong. They do more trying to do research and funding for testing rather than outreach to people, but they still support the community. But wear tall socks. You need to use approved repellents. So there's repellents that are safe for your skin. A lot of people will use DEET. DEET can affect your neurological system. But if you are working outside and you're in those high-risk jobs, or you're a hunter, you have to consider and weigh the benefits. But you can also use permethrin. You spray it on your clothes. You let it dry. It's good for about six weeks of washings. And then you reapply again. Or you can send a set of clothes to companies, and they will embed it with permethrin. And those are good for about 80 washings. So some people will do that are in high tick areas. When you come inside after being outside, if you're gardening, if you're hiking, you should put your clothes in the dryer for 15 minutes on the highest heat. It's the only way to kill a tick. They don't drown. So that high heat will kill them. It's been proven to kill them. You want to shower after. When my dogs come in from outside, I use a lint roller and I roller them. And I've picked off several ticks from doing that because it sticks to the lint roller. Usually when my husband comes in, I make him lint roll. And then I tell him, take your clothes off and put them in the dryer. Because I've taken his clothes before and put them in the dryer, and a tick will be crawling up my arm. It drives me crazy. And then avoid the tall grass. I brought a pair of gaiters, which are really nice to keep in your car. These are embedded with permethrin. They come from Limeys. It's a company. But you basically just wrap them around your legs. And then if you spray your shoes and you spray your socks, or if you buy the embedded socks you'll reduce a tick bite by 74% just by spraying your shoes and wearing the socks or the gaiters. Tuck those socks in your pants. It's very important.
Pants and the socks.
Or the pants and the socks, yeah. Tuck the pants and the socks so they can't crawl up your pant leg. They like to get to your armpit. They like to get to the back of your legs, your groin, your head, your scalp, behind your ears. Tuck your pants. Use the repellent. There's an environmental working group. You can go onto their site and they will tell you what is chemically safe to use. If you're sensitive to chemicals, we've had people that, have to wear a HEPA mask because they can't even be out in the environment. So you have to be careful. They use more of the natural. If you use like eucalyptus or lemongrass, you have to reapply like every 2 hours. It's very important. And then you can create a tick zone. So cedar mulch has shown to help repel the ticks. So you can put cedar around the area, like a wood chip barrier. Move your wood piles away from your house. Some people will have companies come and spray. There are some environmentally safe companies that will come and spray where your kids play or your grandkids play. And plant deer-resistant crops so the deer don't get into your gardens and drop ticks. And then play sets. They have more difficulty surviving in a sunny area. They're not being killed anymore in the winter. They're surviving the winters. So they will become more lethargic in the winter, but if you have a sunny day, you're at risk of a tick bite if they come out.
Can you speak about turkey, wild turkeys? Do they eat ticks or a good thing to come around?
They have said that there's the chicken, what is that chicken?
Quails.
Yeah, and
are
there's
the
a
predator for ticks.
And there's a type of chicken, possums. Possums they will eat ticks, like a lot of them. So you don't want to keep them out of your yards. But the turkey, I don't know about the ticks. What is the name? There is one breed of a chicken that will really eat a lot of them. Anyways, it's a, I don't know. I can't remember right now. I can't remember right now. But walk in the middle of paths, but again, sometimes if you have deer walking through your yard, sometimes it's higher than on the hiking trails. When you come indoors, make sure that you take a shower as soon as you can and wash or dry your clothes. And then we do have a public service announcement. If you go on YouTube, you can put in Southern Tier Lyme Support public service announcement from 2020. We put green flags in the ground for every person that was infected. And it's a really nice video to watch. Our legs were sore for days putting those flags in the ground. We were squatting so much. None of us could walk. It was something like, I don't know, 2,500 flags or something we put in the ground, and a drone came through and videotaped it and said these were the number of people infected with ticks. And that was in 2020. I know, right? We all sprayed. And then we have a 5K coming up, and Beth Chatterton is our 5K coordinator, and we're very grateful to her. She's part of the Southern Tier Running Club, and we raise money for our medical scholarships. And this is Kira Mitchell. She was our youngest volunteer. I'm sorry if I get a little emotional, but her and my daughter were born on the same day. She passed away in 2017. She was afflicted with Lyme and Tick-Borne disease. And then this is Dylan Dickerson. He was a young man that was born and raised in Green, New York. He was he was a videographer. He was working on, he was a model. He was doing filming. He was working and he had a couple tick-borne diseases and Lyme, and developed frontotemporal dementia, and he passed away last year at the age of 29. So they think that it set off the frontotemporal dementia, which, you know, that's pretty unheard of below the age of 40. So anyways, we've named our scholarships after the two of them. And we give out $1,000, which is about half the cost for the testing if you need the advanced testing. And we basically will send it to the doctor and they can use it for whatever medical expenses. So we're very grateful. We just gave out our last scholarship, which was the money that was donated in Beth's mom's honor. And that person just, for Vicky, and that person just got tested, so she should be hearing soon. And then the research symposium is next Saturday. It's just a really great day. We did a combined one for, 5 or 6 years, and then COVID hit, and we did some virtual ones, and then we came back and we did a couple on our own. We're talking about doing another one together next year. And usually half the day is more research related and half the day is more clinical for people. And the research one's just, it's still a lot of information. It's great information. And I'm still amazed at everything they're doing at BU. It's amazing. And Dr. Hathout is the coordinator of that. And Mandy Room, who we've worked with for many years, she was a doctoral student. And now she is working for them as well as doing research. She does research all over the country for Lyme and tick-borne disease. And then Upstate Medical has a really great program. And ESF in Syracuse. They're doing a lot of environmental studies to try and help with all of this.
Having your dog vaccinated
Yes.
with flea, tick,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it has to be a good idea, but is it helpful really?
So I do have my dogs vaccinated. I always worry because you just never know what happens to them. You know, they're like your family, right? I get mine vaccinated every year. I've listened, and Cornell usually comes. I don't know, I can't remember if they're coming this year to BU, but the vets will talk about the different treatments you can do. I prefer Seresto collars for my dogs, and it seems to work. I used to have them take the oral every month, but I'm worried about the side effects of the oral, but that's something you would talk to your vet about. But I get them vaccinated every year and wear the Seresto collars. Yes.
What is the status of, not for dogs, but for humans and vaccines? In the 90s, there was a drug called, or a vaccine called Lyme.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with it because I took it, and then they promptly took it off the market, which was disconcerting to say the least.
Right.
But what's the current status?
So the one that you took, I don't want to say they, but if you look at the CDC information, the reason they pulled it is they said there wasn't an interest. But my understanding it's because of the Guillain-Barré. People were developing severe Guillain-Barré to the point where it wasn't safe. So there's some conflicting information about that. So I know that there's vaccines that are being used in other countries right now. The vaccine is being researched here. I think the concern for advocacy groups is what happens if you have Lyme or tick-borne disease and you don't know it. What's going to happen when you get the vaccine? So I don't know where they're at right now, but I know it's in testing, and I know people that have gotten it through the testing. Like, they've been part of the research.
There is one that was in promising early clinical trials,
Okay.
so it's going to be a while.
So for right now, really, the only way not to get one of these is to not get bit. And it's not to scare anyone. We are very active, and my husband just got a tick bite a week ago. Well, 3 weeks ago now, but he just finished treatment for it because it showed that it had anaplasmosis, and he, within 3 days, started developing symptoms. But the tests were all negative. But he had the
What were
symptoms.
his symptoms?
So his symptoms were a severe headache. He had GI, and he did not feel well. And it's not his usual. He never gets headaches.
They don't have ticks on golf courses.
I spray. I wear my treated socks. I golf every Monday. I wear my treated socks. I have my shoes are sprayed. I figure, well, that reduces it by 76%, right? And then I spray myself. I've been using Sawyer's Picaridin. Picaridin, so you can get it on Amazon. Picaridin is something that is safer and it works. The other, what I've also heard is, especially if you're pregnant, IR3535 is a chemical that works, and you can find that in the Avon Skin So Soft insect repellent. There's a spray and a lotion, and the lotion is also a sunscreen, which that's ideal for kids, right? You can get two, you can do two things at once, protect them from the sun and the ticks. But the permethrin is very good. If you have Sawyer's permethrin, you spray your clothes, you have to let them dry. You cannot let your cats near it. It's dangerous for cats when it's wet. And then your clothes are good for about 6 weeks. Or you can, you can buy shirts now, pants, full outfits, bandanas.
But after it dries, the cats are okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to get information,
Going to Southern Tier.
Yeah, so you can go to our website and, well, I lost this again, but it's stlyme.org. We have a full website, and on there, there's information on how to contact us, info@stlyme.org, and I respond to all those emails. So you can always email, and we can get you whatever information you need.